Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm coming on today. This is a bit of a VR to Tom Benjamin, who done a video entitled Queer Decks for Pride or Anytime. And basically he was encouraging us to show decks that we have that are kind of a queer themed and are good for use, not just during Pride season, but at any time. But they show good queer representation and or are made by queer creators. I say the word queer. I know that not everyone identifies with that word, not everyone's comfortable with that word. So I suppose what I should really say is, LGBTQ plus. I think you know what I mean. So what I'm going to do, I've got quite a lot of decks that kind of fall into this category for one reason or another. I'm going to try and stick with decks that are not only kind of have some sort of LGBTQ plus theme to them, but that are also made by creators who are, within the LGBTQ plus community. The first deck that I want to show you, and I suppose I should pan over to the table cam here. I keep it in this bag. It's the Zany Tarot, and it's my kind of a first anniversary edition of the Zany Tarot. So right away we've got these the backs that have the Rocky Horror theme, and Rocky Horror right away is big um in queer culture, so it is. But this deck is it's created by Zane Hughes from Tarot Token Witchery, who is a gay man. Um, it has a lot, so I'm going to try and kind of. So when we look at the cards that show like families and couples and even like the court cards, when we look at the kind of a gender identification in a lot of the cards, it is very, very kind of or it's one deck that always comes to mind for me as being a very kind of an inclusive deck. So we've got the Two of Cups or the Two of Water, and we have a male presenting couple. Um, we have in the Queen of Water, we've got a bit of gender play there. I've done walkthroughs of this deck and of the original. So this is the anniversary edition of the Zany Tarot, and I've done a walkthrough of the first edition. So if you're interested in the deck, then have a look at that, or head on over to Tarot Token Witchery and have a look at Zane's walkthroughs of his various decks that he's created. So I'll mention that here. Zane has created other decks as well. There's the Zany Spirit Tarot. There's I call it the Zoracle. I'll try to remember the name of it now. The Toke Witch Oracle. So there are several products that Zane has created that I would encourage people to check out. The next deck that I want to mention is the Numinous Tarot. So this was created, let me see if I can find the creator's name. Cedar McLeod, I'm going to pronounce it. And this is a deck it basically takes the kind of so we'll get the usual gendered titles, so things like Pope, Popess, Emperor, Empress, King, Queen, all these kind of things. It takes all of that out of it. So I think Creator instead of either the King or the Queen actually. I would need to see all of the courts side by side. It is a beautifully done deck, particularly in terms of like gender representation, which is something that we don't see in a lot of decks. That's really nice to see in this one. Let's see, we've got Explorer. The Lover's card, has like all these different people represented and depicted, rather, is more the word I'm looking for, depicted in the card. So there's a lot of different ways you could read that. See, we have the founder instead of the emperor there. Two of Vials is the kind of a Two of Cups equivalent. I'm just trying to look out these cards that generally, the cards that you go to see, or that I tend to go to see whether a deck is what I would deem as inclusive and represents LGBTQ people and culture and stuff. Dreamers, explorers, creators. We have the Nurturer rather than the Empress, and Mystics. I think Mystic is king, or what would in another deck be the king. Creator is rather than the queen. The Explorer, I think, would be knight, and then whatever it is that's left would be our page. So yeah, not a very good and prepared walkthrough of that deck. I am fully aware, but this is just to give you an idea. So the next one that I'll come on to is the Urban Tarot, which is created by Robin Scott. Robin is a member of the trans community and understand that they've depicted a lot of aspects of their own journey in this deck. I'm sure the Fool shows them, the Lovers shows them on their wedding day. I use them because I'm not 100% sure of what pronouns that Robin uses. But I know that they do identify as trans. A lot of the cards in this, like the Ten of Cups, their satiety, appears to show, well, at first glance, appears to show a lesbian couple embracing each other at a pride parade, but who knows what, how they would identify themselves. And I suppose that's the nice thing is like, you don't immediately know what it is that you're looking at. It could anyone of any gender could really put themselves into a lot of the cards the way that they are depicted. So yeah, I don't want to kind of fall into the trap of just sifting through every single card in every single one of the decks that I'm going to show you. That was the Urban Tarot by Robin Scott. The next one I want to show is the New Choice Tarot de Marseille by Rosario Salerno. This deck was inspired by the Berlin gay scene, as I understand it. Ross himself, I believe, identifies as a gay man, definitely within the LGBT plus community. It's the colours in this deck are absolutely beautiful. It's a Marseille deck, as you've probably seen. It has these kind of a Marseille style pips. And the titles here are in French. See what I mean about the colours? It's absolutely beautiful, and like I say, it's inspired by the gay clubbing scene in Berlin. I believe, which is why I kind of include it in this. Although like in the love, I think we passed it. In the lovers card, it does have a kind of a standard Marseille lovers card, I believe. Oh no, that was the devil that we passed. Let me see if I can find the lovers for us. Oh, there we go. Yeah. So in terms of the gender presentation, well, I believe that we're looking at a kind of a standard, um, a male and two with that. It's got to choose between two females, but it is a you know can't think of the word I'm trying to think of, but it's true to the Marseille style, which is why we have that. Okay, so that's the new choice. The next deck that I want to talk about is the Modern Witch Tarot by, I always forget the surname, it's Lisa Sterl. Lisa Sterl, I think I want to pronounce it. And I think this is a very kind of a feminine deck in terms of the people that are depicted in it. But it's a very kind of I suppose queer friendly deck is maybe a good or LGBT, the LGBT community as represented in this deck. The Lovers card, see, and the Lovers, the characters are facing away from us, so we're not immediately sure, of the gender of them, Um, so yeah, it's and I don't know, it's just a really nice deck, and I wouldn't have any qualms about pulling this out to read for anyone really. But particularly if I knew that someone was within the LGBT plus community and that seeing themselves in the deck is important to them, then I wouldn't think twice about pulling this one out to use for that, is what I'm saying. So yeah, that is the Modern Witch Tarot, Lisa Sterle. The second from last deck that I want to share with you is the Fifth Spirit Tarot by Charlie Claire Burgess. Now, if my memory is serving me right, I believe the creator is non-binary. I believe that's true. I'm trying to kind of recall the details from when I first got this deck and kind of looked at it and found out about it. So apologies if I do have that wrong. What I would say is that in terms of non-binary representation, as that the intention of the deck is that it represents, not just cis and binary gendered people, but everyone. And I think that it does it pretty well. We can see that we're representing people of different kind of shapes and sizes, body shapes and stuff as well. So yeah, this is the Fifth Spirit Tarot. So you can see we've got what seems to me to be top surgery scars. Okay, so I would assume this is a trans man, and I'm not really sure how this person might identify, but it's open to interpretation. So from that point of view, to me, it's quite a nice deck. Now, the final deck that I want to share with you, I'm going to give you a bit of a warning here. It's the Tarot Rama, okay? Tarot Rama by Gianluca Flores. Now, this is quite a sexually explicit deck in terms of a lot of the depictions. I'm going to try and show some of the more tame cards, but if when I'm kind of flipping through it, just so you know, you're likely to see some pretty explicit stuff. One of the things that for me this deck does really well is represents the trans community. In a lot of right, there's the Lovers card, okay, so this appears to me to be three male identifier men, male presenting individuals embracing. So we're not just, it's different types of relationships as well, is what I'm trying to get out. Polyamorous relationships are being shown here. Okay, so here we've got the King of Wands. So you'll have seen, there's a lot of nudity in this deck, but we have a trans man. I believe there's another king that does the same. I've just realised that part of the card is in the camera shot there, so there he is. It's the King of Swords. So again, King of Swords, we do have kind of a top surgery scars. The I would kind of assume that this is intended to be a trans man. So yeah, this is another deck that is very representative, although I appreciate that it's not for everyone, and you might want to be careful about who you're reading for with this deck. It's not one that I would pull out to read for my gran, for example. Let's put it that way. I was editing this video and it occurred to me that I completely forgot to include one of the decks. I don't know how I managed that. But the final deck that I've got to show you is the Queer Tarot by Ashley Malesso and Chess Needham. Now, this is a deck that I've recently got. It's only just recently been released. I did a video with Simon talking about this deck specifically, but we also kind of got into the subject of just representation in decks and why it matters and stuff. So it's called the Queer Tarot. It does what it says in the tin. It's very kind of a colourful, really good when it comes to queer representation. These are some of the cards. And the guidebook is fantastic. You know, the guidebook, I think most, if not all, of the individuals on the cards are inspired by representations of real life people. The guidebook tells us, you know, who the people are, what their pronouns are, and what their story is in that. As well as obviously kind of doing what a guidebook has to do and taking us through the meanings of each of the cards, the interpretations. So that's the Queer Tarot. Okay, so that is that they are the kind of the decks that I've picked out. That I would say are queer decks for Pride and for any time. Thanks to Tom for starting this tag. Thank you also to Sarah from Waterchild Tarot, whose video actually put me onto this. It was her video that I saw first. So yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this. Take care, and I'll hopefully see you all soon. Bye.